air conditioning, electronics, fire protection, flexible and rigid foam, laboratory measurements, and refrigeration. Produced mostly in developed countries, hydrofluorocarbons (HFCs) began to replace CFCs and HCFCs. HFCs posed no harm to the ozone layer because, unlike CFCs and HCFCs, they did not contain chlorine. They were, however, greenhouse gases with a very high global warming potential (GWP), thousands of times greater than carbon dioxide (CO2) when measured on a per molecule basis. While their atmospheric concentration was initially very low, it began to grow rapidly in the years following the Montreal Protocol. Known as super greenhouse gases, it was feared that soaring use of HFCs combined with their high global warming potential could undercut the benefits expected from the reduction of other greenhouse gases such as carbon dioxide and methane. If left unchecked, it was calculated that HFCs could add a potentially disastrous zero point 0.5 degrees Celsius to global average temperatures by the end of the 21st century. Unlike other greenhouse gases in the 2015 Paris Agreement, HFCs had other international negotiations. In September 2016, the New York Declaration urged a global reduction in the use of HFCs. In October 2016, negotiators from 170 nations, meeting at the summit of the UN Environment Programme in Kigali, Rwanda, reached a legally binding accord to phase out hydrofluorocarbons (HFCs) in an amendment to the original Montreal Protocol. While hailed as a major achievement for international diplomacy, there were significant differences on the timing and schedule of reductions. The final agreement would see the richest countries starting the process in 2019. Over 100 developed nations would follow in 2024. However, a small group of countries argued for and secured a later start, insisting their economies needed time to grow. Among this group was India, the world's third largest emitter of greenhouse gases and a region with surging demand for air conditioning due to both rising incomes and increasingly extreme hot weather. The chemicals needed to replace HFCs were more flammable and toxic, requiring better trained and better paid people to design, install, and maintain equipment such as air conditioners safely and correctly. In addition, new technologies were required to capture and store HFC in some applications. India's Council of Energy, Environment and Water estimated that the total cost of phasing out HFCs at all homes, workplaces, and vehicles could reach up to $38 billion. India, along with Pakistan and a number of Gulf states, agreed to freeze their use of HFCs by 2028. This plateau would be followed by steep reductions from 2031 onwards, leading to the vast majority of HFCs being eliminated by the late 2040s. The next event, much of Bangkok is being abandoned due to flooding. Bangkok, with a population of over 12 million, has been sinking underwater for decades. By the early 2030s, it's facing a disaster of epic scale, with much of the city being abandoned. This has occurred for various different reasons. First and foremost, the city is built on clay. When originally settled, the region was just swampy coastline, but today it is covered by skyscrapers, highways, and urban development. The enormous weight of all this concrete and steel has been pushing down on the soft clay beneath, causing the soils to descend by up to 5.3 centimeters per year. By 2010, part of the me- mega- me- me- megalopis, megalopis was already under sea level, a trend that would only become worse in the following decades. The illegal tapping of groundwater has been another major factor. Many of the city's residents have been continuously pumping up groundwater, both for their own use and to sell as a commodity, removing a natural layer and resulting in further destabilization of the soil. Rising sea levels due to global warming have been yet another factor, eroding the coastline at a rate of 4 centimeters a year, while the increasing severity of monsoon rains has led to longer and more devastating floods. The explosive growth of Bangkok in recent decades, making it one of the fastest growing places in Southeast Asia, has dealt a serious blow to the city's infrastructure. Areas of land in early that had in the early 20th century been used to absorb floodwaters had vast suburbs and business districts built over them. Canals were filled in to make way for rapid urbanization of the Chao Phraya River delta. The weight of the city grew and grew to the point where the soft soil it was built upon could simply no longer support it. By the early 2030s, large portions of the megalopolis are well below sea level. The government's response during this time has proven inadequate. A lack of clear policy doing little to help the overall situation, while seawalls have been almost useless due to increasing erosion of the shore. The lowering of the city, combined with rising sea levels over 20 centimeters higher than in 2000, has resulted in whole districts of Bangkok being permanently abandoned. Over a million buildings, the majority residential, are rendered uninhabitable, forcing their occupants to move further inland. Many areas which have yet to be fully claimed by the sea have also been evacuated as the regularity of flooding proved too costly for many. Shantytowns and refugee camps are forming outside the city, while the government struggles to adjust as the capital sinks. Thailand as a whole is going through a period of almost unimaginable stress at this time, a result of such huge population displacement. The political, economic, and social upheaval in the region is having a significant impact on global GDP. Efforts are underway to save Bangkok's numerous historical monuments and artifacts, with some temples being moved inland and reconstructed in their entirety. Due to the scale of this disaster, however, much is lost. In coming years, in the coming years, the situation for Bangkok will only worsen as more and more of the city is permanently flooded. By the end of this century, the entire city will be abandoned. The next event that we anticipate, perennial wheat and corn are becoming profitable. In traditional agriculture, all major grain crops have been annuals or short-lived perennials grown as annuals, surviving for just one growing season. They die off once harvested, and then a brand new crop must be planted to take their place. This requires vast amounts of fuel, fertilizer, herbicides, and pesticides, causing soil erosion, acidification, and disrupting both the nitrogen and carbon cycles. Between 1600 and 2000 of the Common Era, the United States lost around one third of its topsoil. Worldwide soil erosion was putting the livelihoods of nearly a billion people at risk by by the early 21st century. More than a quarter of Earth's land surface had been converted for agricultural use, with more land converted since 1950 than in the previous 150 years. This situation was being exacerbated by rapid population growth, demand for meat products in emerging economies, increasing production of biofuels, and global warming. Genetic engineering had emerged as an important tool in crop management. Among the most notable advances occurred in 2017, when Bio Cassava Plus received regulatory approval, giving a huge boost to farming in Africa. By the early 2030s, has been following this has been followed by an even greater breakthrough, perennial wheat and corn, becoming profitable after many years of development. Perennial grain crops provide a revolution in agriculture. By growing continuously for 2 or more years, they are far more efficient than traditional annual crops, requiring less fuel, fertilizer, herbicides, and pesticides. They can store more carbon, maintain better soil quality and water content, and manage nutrients better thanks to their deeper root systems. The deciphering of bred wheat's genetic code in the early 2010s helped in paving the way towards a new generation of perennial crops. The rate of increase in wheat yields, having been in decline since 1980, is now beginning to increase again. However, agriculture will face a new set of challenges later this decade as the effects of climate change begin to accelerate markedly. The next event that we anticipate are stem cell pharmacies becoming commonplace. Stem cell pharmacies are now a fairly common experience in the developed world, offering walk in diagnoses, stem cell collection, and banking services for use in future medical crises. Affordable, personalized, and targeted treatments are becoming available for regenerating various bodily tissues. The next event that we anticipate in 2031 are married couples becoming a minority in the UK. By now, marriage in the UK has been reduced to a lifestyle choice enjoyed by a minority rather than an essential institution of society. The married population has shrunk from almost 50% of adults in 2009 to just 41% now. This trend began in the 1980s. Increasing pressures of work and money, together with the general stresses of the outside world, geopolitical, social, and economic, are putting ever greater strain on couples. The decline of religious institutions has also played a part. Unmarried partnerships no longer carry the stigma they once had. In addition, increasing numbers of people either working at home alone or living with their parents are making it difficult for some to meet potential partners. Another contributory factor is the explosion in the use of virtual reality and other technologies, leading to increased isolation of the individual. People of all ages spend increasingly large amounts of their time engaged in highly immersive online experiences, requiring little or no interaction with the outside world. Of those who are married, the number of children per couple has declined, and not just in the UK, but other Western societies too. Combined with increasing numbers of Muslim immigrants who have higher numbers of children, this is significantly altering the demographic balance. The next event that we anticipate is chocolate becoming a rare luxury. Chocolate products have been chocolate products have become alarmingly expensive, with individual bars costing upwards of $10. Drought, soil depletion, and diminishing harvests in Africa, where two-thirds of the world's cocoa is produced, have led to soaring prices. Cocoa is also competing for agricultural space with other commodities like palm oil, which is increasingly in demand for biofuels. Poor pay and working conditions have also been a factor. Many young farmers are now abandoning their lands and heading to the cities in search of better and more highly paid jobs. The next event that we anticipate in 2031, after the success of the 1997 movie Titanic, director James Cameron began a project that took almost 10 years to make, his science fiction epic Avatar 2009. This was a landmark for 3D technology and CGI, with numerous accolades, winning Oscars for Best Art Direction, Best Cinematography, and Best Visual Effects, and nominated for a total of nine, including Best Picture and Best Director. It also won the 67th Golden Globe Awards for Best Motion Picture, Drama, and Best Director, and was nominated for two others. At the 36th Saturn Awards, Avatar won all 10 awards it was nominated for. Numerous other awards, nominations, and honors were received. With a worldwide box office gross of more than $2.7 billion, Avatar became the highest grossing film of all time, surpassing Cameron's previous blockbuster, Titanic, at $2.2 billion. Two sequels to Avatar were initially confirmed after the success of the first film. The, this number was subsequently expanded to four, with Cameron said to be directing, producing, and co-writing all of them. Many of the stars from the original film would reprise their roles, including Sam Worthington, Zoe Saldana, Giovanni Ribisi, C.C.H. Pounder, and Joel David Moore. Despite the deaths of their characters in the original film, Stephen Lang and Matt Gerald would also make an appearance. Sigourney Weaver was confirmed too, although playing a different character. New cast members included Kate Winslet and Cliff Curtis, portraying Na'vi Reef People, along with Una Chaplin as Varang, described as a strong and vibrant central character who spans the entire saga of the sequels. A number of child actors would also portray freedivers and become pivotal new characters through the sequels. The second Avatar movie, being set in marine environments, featured heavy use of underwater scenes actually filmed underwater with the cast in performance capture. Blending underwater filming and performance capture was a feature never accomplished before, requiring a year and a half to develop a new motion capture system. The film would also be available in glasses-free 3D, another first in film history. Following acquisition by Disney, these sequels were pushed back. The COVID-19 crisis caused yet further delays in production. Avatar 2 would be shifted to December 2022 from its original December 2020 date, followed by Avatar 3 in December 2025 and Avatar 4 in December 2029. The science fiction epic reaches its conclusion with a fifth and final film released in December 2031, 6 years later than its original planned date. Computing power is orders of magnitude more advanced than in 2009, making the visual effects in these subsequent films even more spectacular and impressive than the original, setting a new benchmark for CGI movies. And with that, I would love to hear what you have to think about these proposed and predicted events, Tony. I do as well. I agree with you. There you go. And for anyone watching and wondering, are Tony and Rabbi AI? No, we are not. We are the real deal. And I would like to add that I think it's interesting that chocolate will become a rare luxury. Perhaps that's unfortunate. As a lover of chocolate myself, I don't want to see that happen. Also, I think the Stadship tunnel is going to be fascinating. A tunnel for boats. It's just something that has never been completed before. Poor Bangkok being abandoned due to flooding. Hopefully, they're able to find some ways to help the people there. Stem cell pharmacies becoming commonplace, quite interesting. Married couples being a minority in UK is one of the things that I probably anticipate will become more of a regular event, perhaps in the developed world and perhaps just globally, as people don't find it necessary to get married in order to perhaps have children or raise children. The International Space Station, I remember when it was launched, and for it to be deorbited, it's had a really good run. So, with that, Tony, is there anything else that you'd like to add? Oh, absolutely. No doubt about that. Excellent. Well, with that, we look forward to seeing you in the next year. Thank you. And cut. All right, so we're going to cut there, and then we are going to run the thing that we do at always at the end. And now we're going to go to 2032. Let's get it done. Let's pound it out. Exactly. If I may make a suggestion, go ahead. We need to be better what? Oh, I think we're fine. I mean, I'm literally reading every single thing, so all you have to do is follow along. And um, if you're a little early or a little late, it's no big deal. One suggestion that I would make: look at your camera right now. Okay, so like many times the camera is like right here on your face. If you can, sit up straight so people can see your whole face, or move your camera down a little bit. But yeah, I mean, you don't want to have your camera be like, in the future you're going to be like, wow, you can't see my face or my mouth or whatever. Now the top of your head is too high, so just you want to center yourself. There you go. Perfect. You look fine. You look you you look fine. You look absolutely fine. Black t-shirt's perfect. You look great. Just anything's better than cutting you off here. Okay, ready for 2032? Take your time. Take your time. No, it's worse. Yeah, you look dark. Much better. Okay, are you ready? Okay, are you ready? Welcome to 2032. 2032 will be a leap year starting on Thursday of the Gregorian calendar. The 2300 cut, cut. I'm going to start over. And we also need to get that on the screen. So we're going to restart in three, two, one. Welcome to 2032. 2032 will be a leap year starting on Thursday of the Gregorian calendar, the 2032nd year of the Common Era, the 32nd year of the third millennium and the 21st century, and the third year of the 2030s decade. The predicted and scheduled events: January 1st. Assuming no further extensions to the term of copyrights become law in the interim, books, films, and other works by authors who died in 1961 will enter the public domain in the United Kingdom and the European Union and some other jurisdictions. Those published in 1936 will enter the public domain in the United States, including The Phantom, The Green Hornet, and Cato. In January of 2032, specifically January 15th to February 1st, the 2032 European Men's Handball Championship is expected to be held in France and Germany. On February 22nd, the 300th birthday of the late George Washington. March 19th, the 100th anniversary of the Sydney Harbour Bridge. In April, the 2000, the 2032 French presidential election is scheduled to be held no less than 35 days after the 5-year term starting in 2027 expires. From June, July, Turkey and Italy are expected to co-host the UEFA Euro 2032. July 23rd to August 8th, the 2032 Summer Olympics is scheduled to be held in Brisbane, Queensland, Australia. August 24th through September 5th, the 2032 Summer Paralympics is expected to be held in Brisbane. November 2nd, the 2032 United States presidential election is scheduled to be held. The winners will be inaugurated on January 20th, 2033. November 13th, a transit of Mercury will occur. December 1st through December 19th, the 2032 European Women's Handball Championship is expected to be held in Germany, Denmark, and Poland. December 22nd, the asteroid 2024 YR4, which had an impact rating of 3 on the Torino scale from January 27th, 2025 to February 20th, 2025, will pass by Earth. Some unknown dates that are expected to happen in 2032: the Korea Lunar Lander and Rover, a lunar lander currently under development in South Korea, is planned to be launched. LifeBird, a planned small space observatory that aims to study the cosmic microwave background, is planned to be launched. And with that, we'll move into our timeline. 2032 timeline contents. From 2032 to 2037, we anticipate a transition from ICE to battery electric shipping. 2032 to 2033, heavy cargo deployments to the lunar surface, and some events that we anticipate in 2032. The end of support date for Windows 10. Brisbane hosts the Summer Olympic Games. The Strait of Messina Bridge is completed. The majority of UK homes are rented. British's ash trees have been wiped out by a fungal disease. Leatherback sea turtle populations have collapsed. China's space station is deorbited. Completion of the Australia Asia power link. One third of Saudi Arabia's electricity comes from solar. Britain upgrades its nuclear armed submarine fleet. Transit of Mercury. Close approach of the asteroid 2024 YR4. And the opening of Poland's central communication port. From 2032 to 2037, we anticipate a transition from ICE to battery electric shipping. During this period, battery electric propulsion becomes affordable for the majority of container ship routes around the world. The industry is now shifting rapidly away from the traditional internal combustion engine (ICE) powered systems, with even some of the larger vessels undergoing full electrification, both newly built and retrofitted older ships. Until recently, ship owners often held outdated assumptions on battery costs, energy density values, and available onboard space. While car, truck, and other road vehicle brands attracted much attention for going electric and hybrid, emerging opportunities in cargo ship transport appeared less obvious. Batteries had been perceived as heavy, expensive, impractical devices for bulk and container shipping. In reality, however, sea freight lagged only a few years behind land based vehicles in terms of disruptive trends and would soon be undergoing a major transformation of its own. Low tech short term measures had initially been introduced to cut ship emissions, such as route optimization, slow steaming, and full and hull fouling management. Alternative fuels had also been mandated by the International Maritime Organization (IMO) to lower the sulfur content of fuel for all ocean-going vessels from 3.5% to 0.5%, which came into force on the 1st of January 2020. Some long-haul routes began to use hybrid electric systems combining existing generator engines with hydrogen fuel cells and/or energy storage, but a fully electric configuration remained limited to ferries and small shuttles. A cargo ship with a 100% battery power had been demonstrated in 2021. Yara Birkeland, jointly developed by Norwegian chemical firm Yara International and maritime technology company Kongsberg Group, sailed 35 nautical miles (65 kilometers) around the coast of Norway using 7 megawatt batteries. Although relatively modest in scale, with a cargo capacity of 100 TEU (20-foot equivalent unit) and length of only 79 meters or 260 feet, Yara Birkeland proved the feasibility of zero-emission cargo shipping and included full autonomous capability too. That same year, a coalition of major companies, including Amazon and IKEA, announced a new initiative, Cargo Owners for Zero-Emission Vehicles (COZEV), with a goal of moving to zero-carbon shipping by 2040. In 2022, shipping group Maersk announced plans to install hundreds of offshore charging stations around the world, allowing vessels to power themselves with electricity instead of fossil fuels while idling outside ports. Another company, Fleet Zero, began converting diesel ships to battery electric in 2025 and designed a new electric ship, the MV-E7, for long distance cargo. Fleet Zero also developed a battery swapping solution that enabled smaller ports to effectively function as charging stations and exchange points. New environmental regulations, alongside further improvements in cost and energy density, led to booming demand and rapid innovation in battery electric propulsion systems during the second half of the decade. Between 2022 and 2029, the economic viability and range of electrified cargo ships roughly doubled, with routes as long as 6,000 kilometers being feasible for some size classes. These advances contained, continued into the 2030s. An additional economic advantage came from considering the environmental and health impacts incurred during a ship's life cycle, which studies had shown to be 12 times higher for heavy oil and diesel powered vessels. Governments and international organizations appeared increasingly keen to incorporate these air pollution damages and social costs into their regulatory regimes. The disparity between traditional and fully electric container vessels only widened, with even greater energy densities and lower costs achieved. In 2029, 40% of the world's cargo shipping routes had become technically and environmentally viable for battery electric propulsion. With a tipping point now reached, the majority, more than 50% of routes have either been electrified or are being considered for electrification during the 2032 to 2037 period. While many older vessels will remain in service for years to come, the global fleet now appears on track to be nearly carbon neutral by mid century. In 2020, international freight accounted for between 2 and 3% of global energy related CO2 emissions. Without decarbonization, this figure had been projected to reach 17% by 2050. Widespread automation. We are reading the end of the article regarding a transition from ice to battery electric shipping. Absolutely. Widespread automation is accompanying the increased sustainability of shipping, both in terms of navigation and the loading unloading process, as well as recharging and battery swapping at ports. In addition, cargo capacities are becoming larger than ever. Some vessels will reach 50,000 TEU by the 2060s. Larger battery electric ships can function as emergency backup power plants during increasingly common extreme events leading to power supply disruptions. Energy storage capacities of 5 to 10 gigawatts achieved during the 2030s can provide more can provide enough generation to mitigate blackouts affecting 1 million or more people. From 2032 to 2033, heavy cargo deployments to the lunar surface are anticipated. Following the successes of earlier Artemis missions, including the historic alleged return of humans to the moon, the assembly of the Lunar Gateway, and expanded surface explorations, NASA's Artemis 7 and 8 represent a new phase in lunar development. Having demonstrated human landing systems, the agency is now focusing on heavy cargo deployments to establish a more permanent presence. In 2032, SpaceX's massive Starship rocket delivers a pressurized rover, known as the Lunar Cruiser, to the Moon's surface. Developed jointly by Toyota and the Japanese Aerospace Exploration Agency (JAXA), this vehicle can accommodate two crew members without the need for spacesuits. With enough oxygen and supplies for up to 30 days, it greatly expands the range and duration of exploration activities, providing a mobile habitat and laboratory for extended missions. The lunar cruiser has a length of 6 meters (19.7 feet), width of 5.2 meters (17.1 feet), and height of 3.8 meters (12.5 feet), providing an internal living space of 13 cubic meters. Although its crew capacity is two, it can hold four people in the event of an emergency. To help with dangerous terrain or difficult situations, the vehicle features advanced driving assistance, including safe route generation and an augmented reality display. Powered by a retractable solar panel and fuel cell, it remains in operation for 10 years, covering thousands of miles of rocky landscape. The following year, in 2033, private aerospace company Blue Origin deploys a cargo lander known as Blue Moon. Designed for heavy payloads, Blue Moon is a versatile lander able to carry large-scale infrastructure to support human exploration. This delivers a lunar surface habitat to the Moon. Standing approximately 16 meters or 52 feet in height, the structure includes living quarters, life support systems, stowage volume, support for external robotics, and communication arrays for maintaining contact with the orbiting lunar gateway. Initially, this serves as an outpost for crew visits of up to 60 days. Over time, however, it becomes part of a modular infrastructure, with additional components delivered and integrated to form a larger, permanent moon base capable of supporting multiple astronauts for much longer periods. As such, it will function as the precursor to a more advanced lunar base planned for construction from 2035 to 2040. The next event that we anticipate in 2032 is the end of support date for Windows 10. Microsoft released Windows 10, the direct successor to its Windows 8.1 operating system, in July 2015. It received positive reviews, surpassing Windows 7 as the most popular version of Windows worldwide by 2018. More than a billion devices are running Windows 10 by 2020, leading to a peak market share of 82% of all Windows PCs in early 2022 and 58% of all PCs, the rest being other Windows editions and other operating systems such as macOS and Linux. This share began to decline as Windows 11, launched in October 2021, became increasingly popular. Microsoft announced 14th October 2025 as the retirement date for Windows 10 Home and Pro, a little over 10 years after their initial release, which had become the standard lifecycle length for major Windows versions. However, extended support would be offered for enterprise IoT versions until 13th of January 2032 as part of the Long-Term Servicing Channel (LTSC). After this date, no new security updates, non-security updates, free or paid assisted support options, or online technical content updates are offered. This means that computers without a newer version are now vulnerable to hackers or malware. By 2032, a 14th generation of Windows has become available as the family of operating systems enters its 47th year. The next event that we anticipate is Brisbane hosting the Summer Olympic Games. In July and August 2032, Australia hosts the Summer Games for the third time in its history. The previous two venues had been Melbourne in 1956 and Sydney in 2000. This time, Brisbane is the chosen location, on the country's east coast. This also marks only the second occasion that the Summer Games have been held in a Southern Hemisphere winter, after the 2016 Olympics in Rio de Janeiro. In addition to Brisbane itself, events are held at the nearby Gold Coast to the south and Sunshine Coast to the north, using venues from the 2018 Commonwealth Games. A fourth regional zone is established for games of football at more distant locations. Several new sports centers and stadiums are constructed in time for 2032. Transport connections between the three main regions are also improved. The total cost of both the Olympic and Paralympic Games, initially put at $5 billion, subsequently overruns. However, it is far lower than the $26 billion budget for Tokyo 2020, the most expensive games in history. The next event that we anticipate is the Strait of Messina Bridge being completed. A long stalled bridge between Sicily and mainland Italy is finally completed in 2032. This crossing had been proposed in ancient times, but the first detailed plans had only but the first detailed plans only began to emerge in the 1990s. Following a series of delays and cancellations, Giorgia Meloni's government revived the project in 2023, and construction officially began the following year. The Strait of Messina Bridge, costing €4.5 billion or $5 billion, is the longest suspension bridge on Earth. Its main span of 3,300 meters or 10,800 feet easily surpasses the previous record holders. China's recently completed Zhang Zhanggang Jingzhang-Ruguao Bridge, with its span of 2,300 meters or 7,550 feet, and the 2,023-meter or 6,637 feet Kanakkale Bridge in Turkey, which had held the record before that. It also has the tallest structural height of any bridge, with its towers reaching 382 meters or 1,255 feet, exceeding the 341 meters or 1,119 feet 1,119 feet Millau Viaduct in France. For comparison, this is taller than the roof height of the Empire State Building. The bridge has three vehicle lanes in each direction, two for regular traffic, one for emergencies, and one for rail. It supports the crossing of 6 million vehicles and 60,000 trains each year, bringing Sicily's 5 million residents closer to the rest of the continent. The bridge forms part of the Berlin-Palermo Railway Axis, Line 1 of the Trans-European Transport Network, 10T, 10-T. With high structural integrity, the Strait of Messina Bridge is designed to withstand earthquakes of 7.5 magnitude. The deck's aerodynamic stability can resist winds of up to 300 kilometers per hour or 186 miles per hour, corresponding to a return period of over 2,000 years. The mega project boosts the national economy of Italy by 2.9 billion euro each year, equal to 0.17 of gross domestic product. The next event that we anticipate is the majority of UK homes being rented. By 2032, house prices in the UK have become so unaffordable that the majority of people are forced to take rented accommodation. This trend first began to emerge during the Blair years of the late 90s and early 2000s. It could be argued, however, that the problem originated as far back as 1980, when the Conservative government led by Margaret Thatcher passed the Housing Act. This led to a fall in socially rented housing as council tenants were given the legal right to buy, at a large discount, the home they were living in, while councils were prevented from reinvesting most of the proceeds from these sales into building new homes. Many tenants who had purchased these council flats later profited from them as buy-to-let landlords, effectively subsidized by taxpayers, or sold them to speculators, investors, and property firms. About 1.5 million council homes were sold by 2003, and this figure had reached 2 million by 2015. A failure to construct enough new homes combined with rapid population growth resulted in a serious lack of supply during the early 21st century. Other factors included changes in employment landscape, a rise in the number of students, later marriage, and rising separation rates. Having been relatively stable for most of the 20th century, the average cost of a UK home rose from £50,000 in 1995 to £184,000 in 2007. During the same period, mortgage payments as a percentage of income soared from 18% to more than 50%. The problem was compounded by stagnant wage growth below inflation, a decline in the level of household savings from 16% in the 90s to just 6% within 2 decades, and tighter lending requirements in the aftermath of the Great Recession. Subsequent attempts to rectify this situation included policies such as help to buy scheme, such as the Help to Buy scheme, but these only exacerbated the problem by creating artificially inflated demand. The fundamental issue was lack of supply, but government funding and policies came nowhere near close enough to addressing the point, with only a tinkering around the edges to boost housing stock. Because of these failures, less than half, 49%, of UK households are homeowners by 2032, the first time since the early 70s that a majority of people are renting. One third of households are now renting privately, twice as many in 2015. London and the southeast of England have been particularly affected due to the massive influx of foreign billionaires pouring money into the region and pushing up land values. The gap between rich and poor, and between the younger and older generations, has now grown to be wider than ever, creating an ever more polarized and unequal society. The next event that we anticipate is Britain's ash trees having been wiped out by a fungal disease. Ash dieback, caused by the fungus Challara fraxinea, killed huge numbers of trees from the mid-1990s onwards, particularly in Eastern and Northern Europe. Up to 90% of ash trees were affected in Denmark. The fungus was first scientifically described in 2006. It was discovered in the UK during 2012, initially only on imported nursery stock. But in the but in October of that year, it was found on trees at two sites of established woodland in the East Anglia region. This occurred despite clear warnings from ecologists and foresters that imports of seedlings from the continent should be banned in case of infection. Despite efforts to contain the disease, it was impossible to stop. Within a few weeks, Cholera fraxinia was confirmed in dozens of other locations. Over the next 2 decades, it spread throughout the country, wiping out most of the 90 million ash trees in Britain. Many plant species, birds, and other animals dependent upon the trees for survival were also lost, at a time when their numbers were already in sharp decline. With ash trees forming a significant proportion of the UK's woodland, an eerie silence is descending on many areas of the countryside, with birdsongs and other wildlife becoming ever rarer. The next event that we anticipate are leatherback sea turtle populations having collapsed. Growing up to 2.7 meters (8 feet 10 inches) in length and weighing nearly 700 kilograms or 1,550 pounds, leatherbacks are the largest turtles on Earth. They can dive to depths of 1,200 meters (nearly 4,000 feet) and make trans-Pacific migrations from Indonesia to the U.S. Pacific coast and back again. These ancient reptiles are the only remaining members of a family of turtles with evolutionary roots going back 100 million years. After mating at sea, females come ashore during the breeding season to nest. At night, they excavate a hole in the sand, depositing about 100 eggs. This is filled with sand to hide the clutch from predators before the mother returns to sea. Once common throughout the world, leatherback populations declined rapidly during the 20th century and into the early 21st. At the Jemerspa Medi Beach in Papua Barat, Indonesia, accounting for 75% of all sightings in the western Pacific. Nest numbers fell from 14,500 in 1984 to less than 1,400 in 2017. Several problems affected leatherback turtles. Beach predators such as pigs and dogs introduced to islands which ate turtle eggs, rising temperatures on sands that killed eggs and skewed sex ratios by reducing the production of male hatchlings, the danger of being caught by fisheries during migrations, and harvesting of adults and eggs for food by islanders. In addition, plastic waste becomes a huge and growing threat during the 21st century, especially plastic bags mistaken for their favorite food, jellyfish. Researchers found some individuals with almost 5 kilograms (11 pounds) of ingested plastic in their stomachs. By the early 2030s, leatherback turtle populations have plummeted even further worldwide. Although nesting sites still exist, their numbers have dropped to such critically low levels that the species can no longer sustain its population in the wild, and is now on a clear path toward extinction. The next event that we anticipate is China's space station being deorbited. China's first space station has reached the end of its 10-year lifespan. After a decade of onboard research, it is abandoned and sent into a decaying orbit. A new, larger, and more advanced space station is now in the process of being constructed. The next event that we anticipate is the completion of the Australia-Asia Power Link. The Australia-Asia Power Link is a clean energy mega project that becomes fully operational in 2032. It consists of a giant solar wind and complex in Australia's Northern Territory, linked by undersea transmission to export renewable electricity into Southeast Asia. Originally intended to deliver 20 gigawatts, its developers later scaled down the project to 6 gigawatts after financial restructuring and design revisions to improve feasibility. Even at this reduced capacity, it remains one of the largest combined renewable and battery projects in the world. The facility is located in the Barkly region of the Northern Territory. The solar photovoltaic (PV) modules cover a 12-kilometer by 10-kilometer (7.5 mile by 6.2 mile) land area chosen for its exceptionally high solar irradiance. This is a complement this is complemented by additional capacity from a wind farm. From the generation site, a high voltage direct current (HVDC) transmission line carries electricity north to Darwin, then continues as an undersea cable to Singapore via Indonesian waters. The Finnish link extends 4,300 kilometers or 2,670 miles, making it one of the world's largest submarine electricity connections. Most of the exported power gives Singapore nearly 2 gigawatts of firm capacity, enough to meet 15% of the nation's total electricity demand, while Darwin receives 4 gigawatts for domestic and industrial use. Large scale batteries at both ends provide load balancing to ensure continuous daily dispatch. Doubts over the project emerged in 2023 when developer Sun Cable collapsed its voluntary administration following a disagreement between its backers over the need for more funding. Later that year, a new ownership structure revived the plan, securing finance and eventually planning approvals. This new and revised project aimed to supply electricity to Darwin by 2030, followed by Singapore 2 years later. With its huge generating capacity and enormous cable length, the AA Powerlink forms part of the continent-wide supergrid that emerges in Australasia and Oceania during the mid-21st century. It has an expected operational lifetime of 70 years. The next event that we anticipate is one-third of Saudi Arabia's electricity coming from solar. In 2012, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia had only 0.003 gigawatts of installed solar energy capacity. More than half of its electricity was created from burning oil. By 2032, however, it has 41 gigawatts of installed solar energy, accounting for a third of the nation's 121 gigawatt total energy demand. About 25 gigawatts is produced by solar thermal plants, which use mirrors to focus energy from the sun on heating fluids, which in turn run turbines. The other 16 gigawatts is provided by massive photovoltaic farms. This has been the result of considerable foreign investment, as well as the wealth produced by fossil fuels, totaling over $100 billion. Though several other nations have more extensive solar infrastructure, this has been one of the most ambitious projects, especially considering Saudi Arabia's old position as the world's largest exporter of crude oil. The enormous expanses of desert, as well as measurably more intense sunlight in the equatorial regions, gives the country a huge amount of room to expand further. Even larger projects are now planned. Construction is also underway on high voltage cables connecting Saudi Arabia to neighboring countries and some in southern Europe. Eventually, this will be expanded to include all of Europe and northern Africa. Alongside solar, another 21 gigawatts is generated by a combination of nuclear, wind, and geothermal power. Through nuclear cooperation agreements with China, France, South Korea, and Argentina, Saudi Arabia has now constructed 16 new nuclear reactors. Longer term, the country has further ambitions to be powered entirely by renewables. Much of the oil industry in Saudi Arabia is now transitioning away from energy production to the manufacture of plastics and polymers. These developments, coupled with the fact that it remains one of the wealthiest countries in the region, has, are helping Saudi Arabia transition to a more sustainable long-term future. Additionally, its strong military ties to the West and extensive desalination infrastructure have allowed Saudi Arabia to remain relatively stable compared to some of its neighbors. The next event that we anticipate Britain upgrading its nuclear-armed submarine fleet. Britain has the Britain was the third country after the US and Soviet Union to test an independently developed nuclear weapon in 1952. From 1969 onwards, the country always had at least one ballistic missile submarine on patrol, creating a nuclear deterrent that the Defense Council described in 1980 as effectively invulnerable to preemptive attack. Until the 1990s, Britain had deployed a variety of nuclear weapons on Royal Navy carriers, V bombers, and other aircraft around the world. However, these were gradually withdrawn. The retirement of the WE 177 in both air dropped freefall and depth charge versions was the final stage of this decommissioning process. In 1998, this left a group of four Vanguard submarines armed with Trident II D5s as Britain's only nuclear weapons platform. Britain retained a stockpile of about 215 thermonuclear warheads, with 120 operational as of 2016. A decision to renew the Trident armed submarines was made in 2006, with Prime Minister Tony Blair warning that it would be unwise and dangerous for Britain to give up its nuclear weapons. Although the Cold War had ended, the UK still needed nuclear weapons, said Blair, as no one could be sure another nuclear threat would not emerge in the future. He outlined plans to spend up to $20 billion on a new generation of submarines for Trident missiles. However, the Trident program was to prove highly controversial, with costs escalating considerably. This was an especially divisive topic in the wake of the 2008 financial crash and the subsequent years of austerity and cuts to public services. By 2016, the Ministry of Defense had revised the cost of building, testing, and commissioning the replacement of vessels to £31 billion, plus a contingency fund of £10 billion over 35 years, about 6% of defense spending every year. Nevertheless, MPs voted to back the renewal in a vote of 472 to 117. Alongside this program, the government reiterated its commitment to multilateral nuclear disarmament, promising to reduce Britain's stockpile of nuclear warheads to 180 by the mid 2020s. Trident was based on the idea of mutually assured destruction. It aimed to deter a nuclear attack on Britain by guaranteeing a retaliatory strike against any potential aggressor. After succeeding David Cameron as Prime Minister, one of Theresa May's first jobs was to write a letter of last resort authorizing the use of Trident missiles in the event of such a nightmare scenario. Each of the Vanguard submarines contained a safe with one of these sealed letters, which of course it was hoped would never have to be used. David Cameron's previous letters were destroyed. Previously named Successor Class, it was announced in October 2016 that the new submarines would be renamed the Dreadnought class after the parliamentary vote on the upgrade program. Construction began soon afterwards. The first new submarine would begin operation by 2028, and the existing fleet of Vanguard submarines is phased out by 2032. After more than 40 years of service, each missile is 13 meters, 44 feet long, weighing 58.5 tons, or 130,000 pounds, with a range of 11,300 kilometers or 7,000 miles, a top speed of 18,030 miles per hour or 29,020 kilometers per hour, Mach 24, and target accuracy of within a few feet. Despite its diminishing power in the world, Britain retains a nuclear deterrent for long into the future and plays a key role in maintaining global security. Dreadnought class submarines remain in service until the 2060s, in which time they are replaced by automated and crewless vessels. The next event that we anticipate is the transit of Mercury. A transit of Mercury takes place when the planet Mercury passes directly, or transits, between the Sun and a superior planet, becoming visible against and hence obscuring a small portion of the solar disk. During a transit, Mercury appears as a tiny black dot moving across the disk of the Sun. A transit of Mercury occurs on the 13th of November 2032. The last time this happened was the 11th of November 2019. After 2032, the next occasion is in 2039, with a further 8 transits during the remainder of the 21st century. Each transit typically lasts for several hours. Transits of Venus with respect to Earth can also occur, although these are rarer since Venus is further from the Sun and orbits more slowly. Rarer still are simultaneous transits of both Mercury and Venus. Such an event last occurred in 373,173 before the Common Era. Uh, such an event last occurred in 373,173 before the Common Era, and the next occurs on the 26th of July, 69,163 of the Common Era. The next event that we anticipate is the close approach of the asteroid 2020 YR4. 2020 YR4 is an Apollo type near Earth asteroid discovered by the Atlas telescope in Chile on 27th of December 2024, 2 days after it passed closest to Earth. With an estimated diameter of 60 meters, a rotation period of 19.5 minutes, and an elliptical orbit around the Sun every 4.05 years, it quickly became a subject of intense study. Initial calculations suggested a chance of an Earth impact in the future, briefly reaching a Torino scale rating of 3, the highest seen since 99942 Apophis in 2004. At one point in early 2025, it had the highest known probability of hitting Earth, peaking at 3.1%. However, follow up observations by the James Webb Telescope in March and May 2025 eliminated the risk to Earth. Ironically, these same observations slightly increased the odds of a lunar impact. Astronomers estimated a 4.3% chance that YR4 would strike the Moon on the 22nd of December 2032. Such an impact would be the largest on the Moon in at least 5,000 years. The event could eject up to 100 million kilograms of debris, some of which might reach Earth within days, threatening satellites and possibly creating a meteor shower. Scientists planned a new JWST observation campaign in 2026 to refine the asteroid's trajectory further. Subsequent observations, especially during the close approach in 2028, enabled a much more precise calculation of its future orbit and a refined estimation of the likelihood of impact. Many observatories, as well as amateur astronomers, are monitoring this close approach on 22nd December 2032. The next event that we anticipate is the opening of Poland's Central Communication Port. In 2032, Poland opens the Central Communication Port, also known as the Sol- Sol- Solidarity Transport Hub, 40 kilometers southwest of Warsaw. The vast purpose-built complex replaces the aging and overcrowded Warsaw Chopin Airport and stands as one of the largest infrastructure projects in Central and Eastern Europe. Government leaders first proposed the airport in the late 2010s, aiming to complete it by 2027. However, administrative reshuffles, local opposition, and the COVID-19 pandemic slowed the project's early progress. Political changes and lengthy land acquisitions pushed the beginning of large-scale construction in 2026, delaying the opening by 5 years. In late 2032, workers complete the first phase. The airport opens with two parallel runways and a terminal that handles around 40 million passengers each year. Its modular design allows future expansion to four runways and a total capacity approaching 100 million passengers, potentially rivaling some of the world's busiest aviation hubs, such as Atlanta, Heathrow, and Dubai. The new airport integrates seamlessly with Poland's rail network, the latter also having undergone a major expansion in recent years. More than 100 cities are connected directly to the site through high speed and intercity lines, with trains reaching up to 250 kilometers per hour or 155 miles per hour on the first sections and higher speeds planned in later phases. Passengers can travel from central Warsaw to the airport in about 15 to 20 minutes, while new routes link the capital to Lodz and other major urban centers across the country. Residents and environmental groups protested against land use, displacement, and noise during the planning and construction phases, while analysts questioned the project's cost and long term returns. Despite these challenges, the government and European investors funded and oversaw its completion. The new airport and associated rail infrastructure have a combined cost of approximately 131 billion Polish zloty, or 31 billion euros. Poland is now able to compete with Western European countries on the aviation market and establish a greater share of international traffic as global demand for air travel continues to increase. Analysts project major long-term economic benefits, including tens of thousands of jobs created during the construction phase and nearly 300,000 sustained across Poland in the 2040s, alongside an annual boost to national GDP of around 90 billion zloty, or 20 billion euro. And with that, we conclude the potential events that we anticipate seeing in 2032. What are your thoughts? Very interesting, absolutely. I think that the end of support for Windows 10 is to me of specific interest. I'm always interested in what Microsoft's doing with their Windows line. Brisbane hosting the Summer Olympics. I think it's great that Oceania will get an Olympic Games. The Strait of Messina, that'll be fantastic for Italy. I'm in agreement. The majority of UK homes being rented, not necessarily ideal. The Britain ash trees being wiped out by a fungal disease. Let's try to save some of those. The leatherback sea turtle populations having collapsed. That's sad. Let's hope they have a resurgence. Of course, like you said, China is going to have an amazing century. It will continue to have an amazing century. At this time, would almost certainly be the largest economy in the world, and it will have its space station deorbited. The completion of the Australia Asia Power Link, quite interesting, with the opportunity to perhaps improve life in Oceania. One third of Saudi Arabia's electricity coming from solar, quite interesting as it is seen as such a crude oil powerhouse. Britain upgrading its nuclear armed submarine fleet. That seems like it's a long term plan. The transit of Mercury, it's just something that will continue. The close approach of the asteroid 2024 YR4, quite interesting as well. Hopefully, it continues to avoid Earth and the Moon as well. And the opening of Poland's central communication port will be very interesting, especially for Eastern Europe. And so, with that, Tony, do you have any concluding remarks to communicate to the audience? Excellent. Neither do I. We look forward to connecting with you in the next video. Cut. All right. I'm going to send you an email that says, uh, I don't want you to forget at the beginning of 2032, you have to make an edit because I had to make a small cut. Um, so, um, is my voice uploaded? Yeah, I know. Yeah, I changed some stuff on my computer. Okay. And what I'm going to do is send you an email right now. And you can't forget at the beginning of 2032, we need to cut it like there's like a cut 10 or 20 seconds into it. And um, you should be aware that um, you should be aware that you need to cut that out. Okay, so we've got 2027, 2020, 2029, 2030, 2031, 2032. We've got 6 hours of these. Are you happy with them thus far? I most certainly. I think it's great. And I also think it's really interesting that um, we have the opportunity with these to um, like tell the story of the future. That's very exciting. And um, I don't know. I personally think that we should continue. Like they're getting shorter, which is cool. I mean, you know, they're not that much shorter, but like 2032 was shorter than 2031. 2031 was shorter than 2030, and it will. And we'll get to the point where maybe we can do three in a day. They'll be like 45 minutes each or something like that, and then eventually they'll be like we'll do like five in a day because they They just don't have that much in the far future. So I really think we did most of the hard ones because they were most recent, and I think that's really great. And you've got a, if you would, I want you on 2027 to ask ChatGPT to swap my picture with the one that I sent you in Discord, my headshot. Would you do so, please? No, no big deal. I don't care about X. That's not a big deal. Just on um, on I you want me to send it to you an email? Sure, sure. Just one minute, please. Edit 2032 at the beginning. There is a cut like in the first minute. Please remove the cut. Okay, because I know what I look like and I don't look like that. I look similar, but I don't look like that. It's not that it's like terrible. I could live with it, but it's like you asked me for a headshot and I gave it to you and you didn't use it. And so I'm like, well, why did I send you the headshot then? Or why did you ask me for it? Does that make sense? Okay, so I am going to put in here headshot and edit in 2032. Now, here's what I don't want to happen. I watched 2032 and this cut is still in there. Like, that's a thing I could see you doing. So just make sure, like, I got the edit in 2032 and headshot, and I'm sending this to you. And let me know if you received it. You should be getting it very soon. Can you check your email? You got it? Okay, big dog. Well, then that seems like what we needed to do. And you've got another podcast to do this afternoon, right? Okay, big dog. I will talk to you later. And if you need anything from me, let me know, okay? Excellent. Good job. God willing. Thank you. Take care. Bye.